Hi, Ian.
Hey, Ian.
Yo, welcome back to another Kids Room Podcast episode. And today we're going to be talking about how social media can be very deceitful in our ways of reality and how we view things, simply just through relationships, as we would call them situationships, and just simply how we can make 10-second videos on how maybe your boyfriend or your girlfriend should act, or your husband or your wife should act, and then we put those expectations onto them. Whenever, most of the time, most people don't have those perfect relationships, or they don't have like a perfect life. We go through life seeing other people doing what they do and not understanding that we have our own gifts. And God has blessed us the same way He has blessed everybody else. So our gifts can do the same thing so another person's gifts can. It might look different, right? It might have a different impact on things, and it might take a different amount of time to develop. But that doesn't mean that your gift is less valuable than anybody else's. Just because we don't see the way that we should see doesn't always mean that our reality can simply be real. What we think isn't life. You know, most times we think that things aren't fair, but that's what life normally is. That's how it's always been. Life has never been fair. Life was never just given to you on a silver platter and things were always going to be good. Whether you came into life with a good family with good money or good friends and you had like a great environment and everything like that, went to the best schools, but even then those people still go through challenges and trials and tribulations, and they still go through struggles just like everybody else. But you know, simply just through our phones and going through daily life as a younger generation, we've developed a sense of thinking that things are going to be perfect, or things should always work out in a certain amount of time, or the way that we think that they should work out. But that's not always the case. And most of the time we learn these hard lessons and we can't always come to fruition on what it really means. And that just means that we have to grow. Sometimes things are just not always gonna be given to us, but we have to grow and become better in order for those things to become accessible to us. So that's really what today's message is on. I have a few verses, just three simple verses that can really just kind of steer your direction on where you should be looking at. Sometimes our hearts and our minds can trick us, right? They play against each other. They're always playing tug of war. Your heart wants to go one way sometimes and your brain wants to go the other. And it's hard to decide whether to follow one or the other. You have to have them both together in line in order to be aligned with God's plan, and in order to be aligned with the path that you're supposed to go on. Because as you take the time to practice your craft, to practice the things that you want to get better in, the things that you want to see progress in, those are the things that you're going to spend the most time with. Those are the things that you want to continue to seek God about, to continue to seek God for, because He's going to show you other avenues as well that you can be better in. Those avenues that can be as simple as an attitude, or as simple as the way your thought process might be. Those things can ultimately deter how your future may go. And just going from there, our first verse is going to be from 1 Peter 2:1, and that just reads, "Therefore, rid yourselves of all malice and all deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of any kind." God doesn't want you to be a negative person, but a peaceful person, a loving person, a kind person, right? So it's not always about being run over because you're a nice person, but doing the right things, having the right mindset, and making the right decisions can bring you to where you want to be, right? It can bring you to the person that you want to be, that you have in your mind, that you want to become. Those things are like self-motivators that you have to see, though. But whenever you allowing for the negativity and for the things that are coming into your life to stop you, or maybe slow you down a little bit, you're starting to look at those things as more of a god, of an idol that you're starting to worship more than you are starting to realize that it's just a barrier. That's just something that you really just need to get over. Which leads me to my next verse, which is 2 Corinthians chapter 11, and we're going to go from 12 to 15 on this one. And that reads, "But I will continue doing what I have always done. This will undercut those who are looking for an opportunity to boast that their work is just like ours. Those people are false apostles. They are deceitful workers who disguise themselves as apostles of Christ. But I am not surprised. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no wonder that his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. In the end day, they will get punishment their wicked deeds deserve." And I have a couple notes, just some thoughts I had about that. "Quote unquote" situationships that we always involve ourselves in, especially when we are living this lifestyle of, just living fast and, grinding and, mainly focusing on money, mainly focusing on greed, mainly focusing on the hustle, the grind. That's stopping us from resting. That's stopping us from thinking straight. That's stopping us from seeing the small blessings, the small things that God wants you to see, the things that we take for granted, mainly just leaving the house and coming back. Something as little as that is what we think it is so huge, because not every day is promised. And just because you leave your house doesn't mean you're always going to come back the same way or come back at all. So these things is what we are mainly focusing on. We're not focusing on God. We're looking at what Satan is doing, and Satan isn't going to look like a demon. He's not going to look like a red monster with horns or a tail or anything like that. Satan was an angel. He is an angel. He's going to show you the light in things, right, that could be really bad for you. He's going to sprinkle a little bit of the things that you want to see in something that's going to lead you down a path that you're never going to return from, or something that's probably going to end up hurting you, right, in the long run. And it might not be physically, but it could honestly hurt you and ruin your life at the end of the day. And what we see every day can truly help your mind decide what path you really want to take, because a lot of things that we see now isn't always right. Or the things that we see now, people aren't getting them the right way, but they're making it seem as if it's always legit. And only God knows what that person and them are doing. You can't always worry about them. You have to worry about what you're doing and opportunities that you have, because whenever you get tricked by the enemy, whenever you start to be blinded, you don't always know that you are blinded. That's why you're blind. You can't see, you can't tell. And the people that are seeing it, you start to see them as enemies. The people that are trying to help you are actually trying to better you and put you in the right direction. You can see them as an enemy, because you're simply blinded by the good life. You're simply blinded by the things that you see on social media, the things that you see in real life, or on your phone that aren't real, but you expect for them to be, real expectations, to be real life, to be real standards that aren't realistic. In my last verse, I'm gonna go Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 4 and 5. "Beware of your friends. Do not trust anyone in your clan, for every one of them is a deceiver, and every friend a slanderer. Friend deceives friend, and no one speaks the truth. They have taught their tongues to lie. They weary themselves with sinning." And I didn't bring that verse up to say that your friends are being deceitful or lying to you and doing anything like that. But it says beware of your friends. Beware of the things that you think are friendly to you as well. The people that say they love you but don't mean it, that don't show it though. You have to be able to have discernment. And the correct discernment, not the discernment that you think that you know, but the discernment that is your gut. Your gut is telling you the normal morals that we should live by every day, which is not lying to each other, which is loving each other, which is, treating people with respect and having everybody with equality and things like that. But we don't live in that type of life. We don't live in that type of world, which is okay. But it doesn't mean that you have to start living that way. It doesn't mean that you have to start trusting people or even changing yourself to live like others in order to think that you're going to get the way that you want to go. Just because other people might be butthurt, or they start to be one-minded or closed-minded about things because they got hurt in a situation, does not mean that you have to be that way whenever you get hurt. It's okay to be forgiving. It's okay to be trusting. It's okay to have respect, and if people don't treat you that way, then obviously turn the other cheek. But don't always think that being like that person is gonna ultimately put you in the right direction either, though. Two wrongs don't make a right, and just because somebody else is living a certain life and they're acting a certain way doesn't mean that they are inside themselves at peace on who they truly are. Maybe they want to turn back. Maybe they want to become who they used to be because they were probably happier at that point in time. But because of what we see and what we hear and what we predict or assume about life and things like that, that is changing us. And that is pushing us in the wrong direction and pushing us into these things that aren't good relationships, but things that are ultimately hurting us and scarring us in the end. And then paying it towards our generations and our kids and those kids' kids. So we have to be able to watch and pay attention and be mindful and be wise. And just ask God for forgiveness and ask God for strength and to do all these things and to not be deceived and to be lied to or to even see through those things and know that Satan is going to play around and play in your face if you allow him to. But if you see past and through those things, then you'll understand that there's more to life and there's more to what you're seeing. But hey, I appreciate y'all, man, on this little short message. And I hope that y'all tap in. If y'all listening on the podcast, go ahead and subscribe, like, and share this video. Kids Room Podcast. Catch up with me on this, on the visuals. And yeah, I'm going to catch y'all on the next one.